So yeah, this is preparation for the hands-on session. We're going to go over kind of 3 ways you can participate in the hands-on session, and also some useful links. And also making sure that the environment that you're in is working, and you shouldn't have any problem installing or any problem running the notebooks that we've put online. So yeah, as I mentioned before, there's the fatforensics.org website, and that all has the API, it's code examples, tutorials, how-to guides, and kind of everything you need to access is on there. So this is kind of the API references that you get. It's quite low level, so you can go on there, you can find a class or a function that you wanna look at, or you want to know how it works. And there you can see sort of like parameter names, what types the parameter should have, what's the default value of the parameter, everything like that. That's in the API section of the documentation. This is the code example bit of the documentation. So there you'll find scripts that do a certain thing. So in the example, you're measuring robustness of a data set with sampling bias. So whether your data set contains sampling bias or not. And there you'll see basically the output of the script, and you'll also see what the code that does what the script does. So you'll see the code all for sampling bias, and I think the iris data set below it. And you'll also be able to, on the very bottom of the page, you'll also be able to download the notebook or access the Python source code, or you can launch it in Binder, which is something I'll talk about later, which is where you host, you basically run notebooks on the cloud. There's also tutorials which go into a little bit more detail. There you'll see a kind of description of, a longer description than with the examples. You'll see a description of why we're doing things, what function you could use. So there it kind of says like we're using the visualization function. And yeah, it just goes into a little bit more detail. And then we have how-to guides, which is like a step-by-step, here's what we're doing, here's why we're doing it. We go into a lot of detail with this, and there's a really good how-to guide, which is essentially what the hands-on part of the tutorial is, which goes over build line yourself or Blimey. And then, yeah, we talk about the interpretable data representation, data sampling, and explanation generation. And we give a really detailed explanation about all of this. So there's 3 ways of executing the notebooks. There's Binder, Google Colab, or there's a local installation on your local PC. So first, this is where the notebooks are at this link. It's also if you go on the events.fatforensics.org page, it's also under the hands-on resources, there's the Jupyter notebooks, and if you click that, it'll take you to this repository, or you can download the whole events repo and access it from there. For local installations, you'll need to install some dependencies and actually install the package. So there's kind of 3 ways of splitting the dependencies. There's the core dependency, which is just NumPy and SciPy. This is for anything to do with the package. You need NumPy and SciPy. And if you do pip install fatforensics, it'll install those. For the surrogate explainers and some of the feature selection functions, you'll need scikit-learn. And if you do pip install fatforensics, I'll then have a ML in square brackets after that. It'll install scikit-learn as well. We also have a module for visualization that has a couple of quite basic visualization functions. Stuff like feature importances, you can plot those in the visualization module. For that, you'll need matplotlib, and again, you can install it with pip install fatforensics and then put viz in square brackets. Or you can install everything, and you'll be able to run any code that's in the package. And with that, it's just pip install fatforensics and then all in square brackets after that. For development, there's a couple more packages that we use. So if you want to actually contribute to the package, you can open a pull request. There's a few things to do with pull requesting every request you do, sort of like code testing, style, automatically generating documents or documentation. And for this, we use a lot more packages. So Code Flake 8, therefore making sure the style's proper. We use PyTest for testing. We have Sphinx and Sphinx Gallery for automatically generating documentation. So yeah, if you do pip install Fat Forensics dev, it'll install all of these for you. So for a local install, you can pip install Fat Forensics, then whatever options you want after. For the hands-on, I'd probably recommend just using the command there, so installing everything. It just means you'll have no issues, like you won't have to install scikit-learn after or anything like that. And then you can install Jupyter Lab or Jupyter Notebook if you use that. And you can download the GitHub repo with all the notebooks and launch Jupyter Lab or Jupyter Notebook inside that repo, and you can run everything locally if you wish. So you have some data you don't want to put on Collab or access with Binder, you can just do a local install and just do everything locally for the hands-on session. And yeah, this is how you can download the events repo. It's just Fat Forensics /events, and it's inside all the notebooks are inside assets and then resources and notebooks, I think. You could use Collab as well if you want to run everything on the cloud. We have some functions that will initialize Collab for you properly, so we'll install the package, and at the top of every notebook we already have this in there. But if you want to create your own notebook, there's some functions that you need to run first, so that runs properly in Collab, so it installs the package and things like that. Then we have Binder, which is essentially running notebooks on Binder servers. So I think it takes a while to run the first one, and then I have already run it. Yeah, so this is basically running on Binder. After you click Binder, you'll just see like a normal Jupyter notebook. Okay, I'm getting a server error because I left it too long. So this is the repo where the notebooks are. And if you scroll to the bottom, you can launch Binder. And this might take a minute, so I'll come back to it. But yeah, you can run all the notebooks on Binder servers instead of locally if you want. And then we ask that whatever environment you have, you run the 0 environment test notebook first and run everything in that. Essentially, this is just the it's the how-to guide for it's the how-to guide that's on the documentation that goes through Blimey, and we just want you to you can read the code if you want and understand it, but basically we just want you to run that notebook. And if you join Slack, you can let us know if it doesn't work, and we can troubleshoot your environment with you. But before the hands-on session, if you just make sure that the environment test notebook actually works, that'd be great, because then that means that you'll have no problem running the other notebooks. And we just want to make sure, like absolutely make sure that no one's got problems before we go into the hands-on session. So yeah, if you join Slack, there's a join link in the events Fat Forensics webpage, and then we can troubleshoot that with you if there's a problem. And yeah, now I think we'll take a break, and I'll make sure there's a timer on the, yeah, I'll make sure there's a timer so you know when to come back. I think it's half an hour. And if you join Slack, and just make sure that you let us know if there's any problems with your install, we can troubleshoot them during the break. And then for the hands-on bit, we can just make sure that everything works. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks, Alex. Yeah, we're spot on time now. So it's 2:45 in Bristol, 4:45 Continental. So we'll start again with another short presentation here. Is that right, Alex?
Yeah, I'll talk for 10-15 minutes after the break.
Yeah, 4:15 Continental. We have another 15 minutes here, I think, and then we move over to the Slack channel for the hands-on.